I'm Eric Parker. This morning on CT21, COVID vaccines. Adults are clamoring to get them, but what about the kids? Getting them vaccinated could be the key to bringing COVID to a close. We're talking about clinical trials underway right here in Connecticut for teens and tweens. Plus, car break-ins, they're happening in neighborhoods all across Connecticut now. There's new legislation designed to give police what they say they need to make these criminals think twice. And an outpouring of support following the fire that ravaged the hole-in-the-wall gang camp. The camp's CEO and one of the campers are here to talk about the comeback plan for this special place that offers an escape for kids in unthinkable situations who just need a little bit of normal. It's all this Sunday, February 21st. CT21 starts right now.
From Channel 3, this is Connecticut's most watched current affairs program, CT21, with Eric Parker.
Good morning, and thanks for joining us on our very first CT21 program. I'm happy to be back on morning TV after 5 months, especially here with you on a Sunday morning. I was surprised to get the call, but thrilled to once again be part of the best news team in Connecticut. And a bonus, doing this show allows me to keep my day job as a lawyer. We have this new show for you, and we're very excited about it. Now, you may remember, before this time slot was home to Face the State, it was home to CT93 and CT94 and so on. Well, that name is coming back. This slot has long been reserved for political programming, and we'll continue to have that for you, but we're also going to be exploring current events that affect you and the way you live your lives. Plus, each week we'll be bringing you our Sunday Spotlight, giving a little extra recognition to a person or cause that we think is worthy of your attention. We begin the program this morning talking about vaccines, and specifically COVID vaccines in children. Joining us right now is Dr. Onyema Ogbuagu, an associate professor of medicine at Yale University and the principal investigator for the Pfizer vaccine at Yale. Doctor, everyone's talking vaccines. Everyone wants to know when they get them, and many parents are saying, what about my kids? And you have a study going on about that right now. Tell us about it.
Yeah, hello, Eric. Nice to talk with you. You're absolutely right. There's a lot of interest in getting vaccines for kids, and that's critically important because, 22% of the U.S. population are under 18. And like you rightly said, unless we can vaccinate kids, we may not be able to achieve herd immunity, which brings about the end of the pandemic. So in the original trials for the Pfizer vaccine, we studied individuals 16 years and older. And it's for those individuals that we have the vaccine currently having emergency use authorization for. We have since expanded the trial to include 12-year-olds through 15. And those are now fully enrolled, and we're in follow-up for those to generate some of the efficacy data for the vaccine in that group. And in the future, near future, we hope to also include people as young as 5-year-olds through 11.
All right, so I want to break down what you told us there. So first of all, you talked about the importance of immunizing kids to achieve herd immunity. What is it about that population that makes them so important?
Yeah, so even though kids don't, die to the same degree as older individuals, which all of us are aware of, but kids can be infected and transmit those infections among themselves to their parents, to their grandparents, and so they can be vectors of transmission. And studies have actually, models have actually shown that, vaccinating the younger individuals can have quite a significant impact on transmission of the disease. So it's critically important to vaccinate children also because we know we do need about 70% of the US population to be vaccinated to achieve herd immunity, and you cannot achieve those numbers without including children.
If you have 20-something% are below 18, that it really increases the margin for error to get to that 70%. So what is your group? How many people are in the group, and how does it all work? A lot of people hear about these clinical trials, whether it's for this vaccine or something else, but they don't really know what's happening. So tell us what happens and what are you monitoring?
Yeah, so in the trial for kids aged 12 to 15, we have about 2,000 individuals across all sites enrolled in the study. That's the number that we need to assess for the efficacy of the vaccine. So we're now in the follow-up period. All the kids have gotten their 2 shots separated by 3 weeks. And obviously, the results we're looking for would be to look at the incidence or the new cases of COVID-19 that occur in vaccinated kids as against the unvaccinated kids. So the trials were run as a randomized controlled trials, so that half of the kids got vaccine and half got placebo. just like we did in the adult case. Luckily, we've conducted the trial during a period where there's significant ongoing community transmission. So we hope we can read off the efficacy, in a few months.
Now, I know you're going to publish all these results in a fancy journal, but can you give us a preview? Do you have any early returns on how this group of kids or teenagers is doing?
Frankly, we just finished the second doses a little over 2 weeks ago, and we start to adjudicate efficacy of the vaccine a week after receiving the second dose. So it's a little too early to be able to read off the efficacy. But if we can go by anything we've seen from the adult trial, I think our hopes are high that the vaccine should work equally for kids.
Now, let me ask you about the challenge, though, of dealing with that teenage group. I know a lot of parents are sitting at home on this Sunday morning thinking to themselves, I can't get my teenager to pick up their room. You're going to try to get them to write in a journal and say how they're feeling and monitor their symptoms. So does it pose a little bit of a different challenge when you're dealing with that younger demographic?
Absolutely. So kids are a vulnerable population, and usually with clinical trials, we need parental consent for kids and what we call assent for the children. So, and we also still go through the rigorous process of explaining the study to them, or process an informed consent process. Frankly, my own anecdotal experience has been there's really a lot of enthusiasm on the side of parents, because kids are not anywhere near close to the priority groups for receiving a vaccine, and they also are interested in having their kids participate in clinical trials. And on the kids' end, there's been a lot of enthusiasm and excitement about doing a clinical trial, and it doesn't hurt that they get some stipends or pocket money for participating.
And what are we looking at time-wise? So you said you just gave the second round of shots, obviously half placebo, half the actual vaccine. So if it's effective, as you think it may be, when will we actually start delivering these vaccines to people in that age group if it works?
Yeah, so timelines would be roughly, and these are just estimates, I think in the next 2 months or so, based on the current transmission rates of COVID-19 in the community. Hopefully we'll start to detect some signals of the efficacy of the vaccine. Obviously, after that, then you have to add the timeline of about 3 weeks to a month for the FDA to review the data and to be comfortable to expand the indication to that group. And then it's all down to logistics of getting the vaccine to that group. So I think best case estimates would be around June, July or so.
Now, obviously, anytime you're talking vaccines, whether it's this one or something else, you get skeptics, you get people who have a lot of questions about it. And I heard one person said they were comfortable getting it for themselves as an adult, but they were nervous giving it to a child who had such a long lifespan ahead. Do you get any of those questions? And if you do, how do you address them?
Yeah, we do. But remember, this is the classic pathway for vaccine development, where when we've shown the safety and efficacy in adults, in a large number of adults, remember we studied them in tens of thousands of adults. And so having shown the safety and efficacy in that group, then we start to expand it to groups that were left out, including children, pregnant women, etc. So what we just reassure individuals is that, again, we have, safety records from tens of thousands of individuals who've gotten the vaccines. And so we don't really expect any untoward effects for the kids. And more importantly, the vaccine technologies that we are currently using are quite safe.
And that's the best way out of this. You're the expert on this thing, and you're telling people get those shots.
Exactly correct. So, again, we need to translate highly effective vaccines to real world effectiveness. And the only way we bridge that gap is by getting as many people vaccinated so we can achieve herd immunity.
All right, we'll leave it right there with that important message. Doctor, thank you for being with us this morning. We'll be following that trial very closely. Still ahead here on CT21, people showing up in your neighborhood, breaking into cars, taking what's there, sometimes maybe even taking the car. Up next, we're looking at new laws being proposed to punish these offenders so they think twice before doing it again. We'll be right back.